our good friend here, Robban, and I know I'm not saying the name exactly right. It's Robban because you guys roll your R's, which is a little challenging for me. Hagnas, and he's actually a multi-talented guy. He's the bass player for a very well-known Finnish blues band called the Wentus Blues Band. He's an independent record label owner, which is a label that actually my band is on, which is Ramasound Records. You're a club owner as well in Kokkola, Finland, which is a great rock and roll blues club. We're going to talk about all that stuff. How you doing today?
Yes, I'm doing fine. I'm glad to attend this meeting with you here and share my thoughts and ideas with all you bass player all over the world.
Yeah, we have a lot of bass player friends and a lot of great bass player pages that we work with, and also my podcast series. So tell me about, a lot of people, a lot of Americans, maybe they think of Finland in terms of a lot of the metal bands that we know, the rock bands. Yeah. But there's actually a huge music scene there, and the blues scene is very alive and well, which is something you've been an integral part of for many years. So tell me about how you guys started your band and blues music in general in Finland.
Well, we have to go back in time to, I would say, early 80s, when there was actually a big live scene here in Finland. And there was a booking agency in Finland that worked together with other agencies in Norway and Holland, and that brought over all these American guys like the Fabulous Thunderbirds, Steve Ray Vaughan, Omar and the Howlers, and Duke Robillard, and all these. And for many of these American artists, I would say, let's say we're talking about the new white blues scene. Right. It was their first visit to any European country was actually to Finland.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, and of course we had a massive, how would you say, rock and roll thing going on here. We had some great bands in the 70s. One called the Hurricanes that played, Little Richard tunes,
Right. Yeah.
And then all these bands came over and started to play here, and they played all these smaller towns, and like my town, for instance. We had these guys coming over here, and they made a huge impact on the whole music scene, and a lot of bands and musicians wanted to start playing like them, because something else than the other, I would say, popular music that we were, we knew of.
Right, because you're getting a lot of American music like Motown and top 40 music, exactly. But you had that influence going at the same time, right?
Yeah. So then, of course, also the big beer companies, they came in with this idea that if you have a pub, this was in the 80s, if you had a pub, and you booked a band playing this kind of music, or had a band at your pub, you could get the 10th case of beer for free that you could sell.
That's a good deal.
So all of a sudden we had a massive a scene within the blues there, going on here, and a lot of blues bands started to play here. And in my town we had a really active music society that was arranging all kinds of concerts here in the parks, and they had some bars, venues at the bars, and where they regularly arranged concerts for local bands, and they wanted to have all the local bands to play there. So there I was, 15-year-old, had started to play music, and we formed our band, the Wentus Blues Band, actually when I was 15 years old, and
wow.
And we met each other on a music camp where we were playing. It was like a pop and jazz camp, right, where we got to meet other youth, young people that were interested in music. And so we formed our band at that age. And of course, this music society was like, wow, we have all these youngsters, that
Right.
and we'll give them shows. So, but we were underage, so we had to bring our parents with us to the shows.
Fun.
I've been playing at bars since I was like 16 or something.
Yeah, me too. That's crazy, right?
So that's really how it all got started.
Mm.
And well, of course, there was all of these metal bands started coming by that time, like Iron Maiden, and we were listening to Black Sabbath and
Right.
these bands, and a lot of young people also wanted to play this kind of music, but the thing was that there was actually no scene for it, so you couldn't get shows if you had a band, and if you had a metal band, you had to have all the outfits and the martial stuff.
Right. All the stuff. Yeah. Exactly.
So therefore, since we started a blues band, we could get gigs because we could go in any bar corner and set up and start.
Right.
So that's actually how it all got started, and but there's a big interest for blues music, or always been, and it's been going down a little now because the audience is getting older, and they're
Right.
not promoters anymore, doing this.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean the club scene has changed too, but I think it's really nice. Like I was just in Finland for 3 weeks, doing a tour with our band, Charlotta Curbs and the Strays, which is on your label, and I got a chance to play at your club, and we got a chance to see a lot of the local musicians. And there's such a vibrant music scene in Finland. And like I said, a lot of people think of the rock bands, but you have blues, you have a lot of great jazz players. There's a really happening original music scene. And it's nice too, because it seems like the government there really supports, there's a lot of programs to support young musicians as well, I think, right?
Yeah, we have a great program and education within the music scene.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, we can't employ all the musicians that we're educating. So
Well, right.
the music scene is tough, and
Mm.
we could talk for ages about being a musician, and because and all the things that you have to do if you want to be in the scene, because you got to promote, you got to not only play good, you have to have a good product, you have to do
Mm.
marketing, you have to do sell the gigs, you have to promote the shows, you have to do
All the,
everything.
yeah.
It's just too much for anybody. So
Yeah.
you don't, if you want to be a good musician, you have to be able to have time to rehearse. But if you got to do all this
Yeah.
educational stuff, in order to go out once a week or play, it's just impossible. Or you
Yeah, it's challenging, and I mean, it has gotten more challenging because there are less shows available for young players, which is, and then like you mentioned, there's a lot of people that are very well educated musically, but then you kind of wonder where they're going to play. But that's it's sort of always been that way, but and it just sort of morphs and changes, I think. But um, how did you get the idea of starting your own record label, and how did that happen?
well, where should I start from? Well, uh, at some point when we with our band, when we did more shows, well, yeah, I have to start from the beginning.
Yeah, that's
we,
okay.
we got ourselves a booking agency that started to book shows for us,
Mm.
but I really didn't feel that they were working enough enthusiastically
Right.
for getting us to show. So I thought that I can do this better. My grandpa was a horse trader, so
That helps when it comes to booking shows.
so I first started, doing that, and I formed
Right.
my booking agency, and through my booking agency, I started to bring a lot of, other American acts and foreign acts in Finland, and booking them.
Who's some of the acts, since you're talking about who are some of the acts that you brought over? 'Cause it's quite a long list, right?
Well, to name a few, I've worked for years with Canned Heat,
Okay.
and
As a bass player too, right?
no. I was only working as a
Promoting. Okay, gotcha.
and a booking agent, and yeah, well, Larry Taylor, he was phenomenal. So who could
Yeah,
say?
yeah, that's right.
But then I also worked for years with the Fabulous Thunderbirds, and at some point,
Right.
I did other shows in Europe.
Hmm.
And then, well, I've done well a lot of different bands. You know, it's a lot. But anyway, to get back to this story is that we had with our band first we had a Finnish record label working for us. They didn't. I felt like all other artists that they didn't push it well. You know, well.
Right, yeah.
So then we.
That's always a struggle. Although you did a good job for us. I'll say that. So.
And then after that, we made a deal with a German agents, a German record label, the Rough Records. That's within the blues scene in the U.S. as well. And we did 2 albums for them. We had 2 really good products. The first one was that we made a double album out of our 20 years anniversary. That was also made. We also made a movie out of it.
Oh wow!
So I can tell you more about that later.
Yeah.
And then we did a second album after that, and we went all the way to the U.S. to Woodstock to record it at Levon Helm's studio.
Okay. Well, awesome.
Really good product, but they didn't do any work for it. And if you're on a German label, they're doing promotion for us, and they even can't get us an interview in the German blues magazine. So then I thought,
right,
this is not working.
Yeah.
But then I formed Rama Sound Records, which is also a promotional company with doing concerts. The whole booking scene with arranging concerts had also changed. So it was basically also a financial movement, within the business and move that you had to make. So that's why I formed this record label to release our own records. And now we also could have keep it in our hands, all the distributional stuff, so we could follow up that how many is going, and also this digital part, so was another thing that was coming up, and it was better to keep all that in your own hands.
Well, it's nice to know, like you said, like it's nice to know, if you're selling, if it's getting played, you can kind of keep track of all the numbers instead of being dependent on somebody else to tell you, because that can be frustrating, especially when you're trying to make a living and all that stuff. And then it's also nice too that, with you, like what we've done with you and being able to have you also as the promoter and booking, it's so nice to have that in one place, because a lot of times maybe you get a record deal, but then you got to go get shows. The label's not often, it doesn't have much to do with that. So it's nice to have that kind of all in house in one place, right?
Yeah, and it seems like many of these record labels also, they're more interested in the publishing stuff than they actually releasing the record. So which is a part that I don't want to go into. I think I already have enough with, I'm in this business because of the love of the music.
Right.
That's my main thing, and I'm not releasing anything that I don't really personally like. I really want to feel something for the music that we're releasing. That otherwise, I'm not going to do it. So I get a lot of inquiries that if I can do this or that, but I always tell them no. So so it really got to be interesting enough, for me to do it.
I think, I mean, that's the advantage of having an indie label where you can really control. The whole. You're basically the team. You decide if you like it or if you don't like it, and it, you know, part of working with a band is devoting your time, of course, and you only have so much time to do everything that you're doing. Plus, you have. I mean, the other thing is you have a very successful club that's busy in Kokkola, and we're going to talk about that as well. But tell me about a little bit about how music publishing works in Finland versus other countries, because in a lot of countries, especially in the States, record labels, they try to get the publishing from the artists when they sign them. But my understanding is in Finland, that's not a common thing.
No, it's a bigger thing in the US, and well, I always thought about that. If you write a song, why give it away, you know, or give away, you know, a big share of the song, you know, to somebody that really doesn't do any work for the song.
Right.
So, but in the States, you have more, how would you say, possibilities regarding, you know, movies and commercials,
License. Right.
and all that. And when we were okay, now I'm coming to this. We when we had played, we were getting about. We had played for about 15 years. Then we started. We really need to have a big celebration when we're been running the band for 20 years.
Right.
At that time, we were much working as a backup band for many American artists, blues artists, all these
Okay.
Chicago and from the southern, you know, Luciana Red, Eddie Kirkland, who played with John Lee Hooker in the early 50s, first recordings they
Right.
did with him, and Carrie Bell, that was part of Muddy Waters band. Phil Guy, the brother of Buddy Guy.
Okay. So they would come to Finland and you guys would be their backup band.
Toured with them all over Europe.
Okay. Wow.
And one of the most well-known artists that we worked with was Mick Taylor.
Okay. Right.
In the Rolling Stones in the early 70s.
Right.
And so what we did when we were celebrating 20 years was that we rented the big Alexander Theater in Helsinki.
Right.
The Tsar Alexander had formed in 1800 something.
Yeah, it's a beautiful theater. I've been there. Yes.
And we did. We invited all these people, these guests that we had been working with. So they all came to Finland for that weekend in particular.
Wow.
We did 3 nights in a row, 5 hours concerts.
Wow.
And we recorded it, and we made a movie. You know, it's called Family Meeting, and we were nominated for Jussi, which is like a Finnish Oscar for best documentary.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's an epic undertaking.
Shown on television in Sweden, Finland, and Norway, and it was also out in the cinema theaters in Sweden and Finland.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So it was a really big project that we did, and that was when I was working as a producer for this whole thing, and that was when I got in contact with all this publishing stuff. Another way,
right? Yeah, because you have to get clearances and all that stuff, right?
Licensing for the movie, and I noticed that, you know, there's no really how would you say a system working for it. It's just like, you know, rob and steal.
Yeah. It's like it's like the Wild West.
A clip in the movie about 30 seconds long, where Lazy Lester, famous blues guy from New Orleans, Louisiana, or Baton Rouge, and he's playing an old Elmore James song,
Mm.
and we had to get license to use that.
Right.
I contacted the publishing company that was located somewhere in Denmark, and they just said, "Yep, $1,000, for 30 seconds."
Right.
And then by the time well, I started arguing with them, and they said, "No, it's going to cost this." And then we took it. We never received any bill.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so very interesting. So, and there was also a one old soul number that we couldn't find anybody that was,
Yeah,
uh,
it's sad because especially I think in particular blues artists that's been really messy for them. A lot of those guys lost or never had control of their publishing, or it was sold from underneath them. A lot of those people have the same stories. I mean, I used to work with Little Richard. I knew Richard really well. That was the same story with him. He didn't have any of his publishing. And it's sad because a lot of these guys wrote songs that we all know, and they end up living in poverty when these songs are making millions of dollars. And that's always the really sad part about the business, I think.
yeah, and well, the story about Chuck Berry when he, released his first single, and when it came out, it stood, it wrote under the song was Chuck Berry, Alan Freed, and some,
Right.
guy. And who are these guys? Well,
Right.
it's this jockey that's picked up the record. So they just gave it to him. Publishing for playing the song.
Yeah, and a lot of, I mean, even though Paul McCartney talks about the Beatles when they signed away their publishing, he goes, we thought it was sheet music. They had no idea what music publishing even was at that point. And they just like, oh yeah, sure, we'll sign it. They gave away the rights. They had no, and that's a very common story, which is, it's sad because otherwise, if you don't have your publishing, basically the only way you're ever going to make money is by having to be on the road forever, right?
This is a thing that we actually should educate younger musicians about, and that we have actually received no information about, and that is the music scene was a big business before they started to make records.
Right.
They were selling notes, sheets, and
right.
And when all this record industry came along, there were all these old guys, selling, sheets, and they was thinking about that. Well, how can we make money out of this? And of course, they knew how to do this. Of course, they could, work it out in a way, and they just, ripped it off from the younger generation that was there writing those songs.
Yeah, because the young kids had no idea. They didn't understand what that even meant, the music publishing end of it.
I've been doing seminars at some music schools, and I've been telling them about this, and they're all like, "Wow, okay,
yeah.
I didn't know that was the case."
Yeah, and also the record labels that they would offer them $100,000 or whatever amount of money, but we want all your publishing, and these guys they don't understand that if they have a hit, they're not going to see any of the money.
And then, well, in the 60s, you could, the only way to market a song was if Bob Dylan wrote a song in Greenwich Village. Let's go way that back.
Right.
They then, the publishing company, they took the song and they sent it away to different parts of Europe. Let's say Germany, Sweden, and they gave rights to translate the songs and make them. They could sing them in Swedish or Finnish or something, and that was the only way to market the new song back in those days. Now we have a different scene, but it was really strange also that for some years ago, I did about 10 years ago, I did a big Bob Dylan celebration concerts at Tavastia in Helsinki, and we had invited all these Finnish rock stars and pop stars to play his songs.
Yeah.
And the idea came up that why not make an album with new translations of the Bob Dylan songs.
Right, the classic songs. Yeah.
Doing these cover versions. So I started working out, and I got a bunch of different guys to translate the songs. So by the time we had about 12 songs together, I contacted the publishing company and a major record label here in Finland. The major record label, they said, it's probably not going to work because we tried to do this some years ago with Beatles songs, but they even recorded the stuff, but they didn't get the rights to release it. So it's somewhere. But I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And they said that, well, if you can get the rights, we're interested, of course. And I contacted the publishing company. I received a document to, fill in, what song and who's the translator and what's the title in it, the translation in English. And then translation in Finnish, and then a back translation in English. So
Interesting.
But if the whole if the topic in the songs is changing, or if it's
right, yeah, because they want to keep the integrity of the song, right?
And so I had scheduled this, that let's release this record out when Bob Dylan turns 80 years old. And his birthday is in May, and I had already given up the thought that this will never happen. It took 3 years.
Wow. You were committed.
And then all of a sudden in January, I received an email that yes, you have the rights now, so we can start working. So there was some. It was a hectic spring, booking all, trying to get everybody scheduled to work, and
right. I can imagine.
2 hours per artist to come
right.
in and do the songs, and then we released it. It's called Dylan Suomeksi.
Wow.
But the major label, they didn't pick it up because right at the same time Dylan was releasing his own new album, so they didn't interfere with his.
That's own. What? It's amazing that you got the rights, because Dylan is notoriously difficult for that kind of thing, and his publishing company is. I think now he's actually sold his catalog, but he used to be so hands-on on all the licensing and
But they probably gave it because they had done the similar thing in Sweden. And which was made by one of the two of the most well-known, Dylan enthusiasts.
Okay.
So that's probably.
It's interesting too, because in Finland and Sweden too, there's definitely some American artists that are very revered, and I know Dylan's one of them. But there's other ones that are especially like in your world, the blues artists. Who would be some of the biggest blues artists that you personally, love and have been an influence on you?
Well, there's so many.
I know it's a big question, but
well, the flagship is, of course, of when it comes to this, is the Fabulous Thunderbirds. That's the band which has influenced so many. And since the topic is bass player, Keith Ferguson in the original bass player, bless his soul, is dead now, and he was really a character and
okay.
a big influence in Austin, on the whole Austin scene. I don't think that we would have any Austin scene if it wasn't for him. And then one other bass player that started to that I got really influenced about when I was younger was I was really into Eric Clapton's early, solo stuff
Right.
from the 70s, and his bass player Carl Radle or Radle,
Mm.
how you
Right.
pronounce it, he was also, a great bass player. That was
Yeah, and Clapton has always had the best bands. I mean, he's always had amazing players, which to his credit. And there's a few people like that have always had a killer bands.
yeah, but he can afford it too.
Well, that's it exactly. that does help.
Yeah.
What's some? I mean, you've learned a lot along the way. What's some of your biggest advice to young musicians, young bass players? Like, what's something that's really stuck out to you as important things to know?
Believe in yourself.
Hmm.
If you have dreams, stay with the dreams and make them come true. And beware of your dreams. That if they're too wild, they might come true one day. So,
That's exactly. You might get what you wish for, right?
what you need is to believe in yourself and work hard and yeah, you have to and find your own thing. Find your own thing that you want to do. And sometimes you maybe just start working on something and you don't know which way it's gonna take you, but the road will show you.
Yeah, and the universe helps you too if you put the effort out there. I think and also people see that when you work hard and you do it with integrity, people want to help you, right?
Yeah, feel what you play. That's also one thing that you can it you can you can become a really great musician, with education and all that stuff, but you ain't gonna be worth a shit if you can't, play with other and do make great music and
Right.
find, when you
You gotta learn all that stuff and then forget about it and go play, right?
there's a great interview with Jaco Pastorius on the internet where they're asking him about all kinds of stuff, and he's just like, well, where I raised up, we were just playing music, so
Right.
so that's and be open-minded. Be open-minded to all kinds of music, and all music is good as long as it gets soul.
Right. Yeah, and if it's played well, then everything's fine, right? Like I've always felt that. Like people say, "Well, I don't like this or I don't like that." I'm like, if you got great players, anything can be fun. you know.
And, but for me, it was well, I would say it was one kind of a university to be able to play with all these old black guys from
Yeah.
South, and because they had a different vision of the whole music. If, for instance, um, if we go out and play, or anybody else from the Western world, and the people start dancing, you perform the song, and
Right.
the song is how would you say? It's a radio length of the song, so it's two verses.
It is right. Yeah.
One verse a solo and then a chorus and it's over,
Right.
and 2 minutes or something, 2 3 minutes. But when you go out on stage with these guys and people start dancing, these guys, they don't want to stop the song.
Yeah, they'll just keep going, right?
I've been into these situations where we've been doing, a boogie for 20 minutes.
Right.
Some point when you've reached, about 10 minutes or 15 minutes, you go into some kind of trance.
Right. Yeah.
It's you get something together with the audience, with the people that's dancing.
Yeah.
That you really can't get with you just or now we're gonna play a Sting song here. You know,
Right. Yeah. That was something that we got some comments in Finland. Well, it was actually interesting. Playing in Finland and Sweden is very interesting as an American, because when you play there, people really listen. Like, especially in Sweden, they would really pay attention. And at first it was like, do they like what we're doing? And then they would come up to you later and say like, oh, I really enjoyed that. And it was very refreshing as coming from the States, to have people so interested in listening to the music and really appreciating it. That's a rare thing, and it's part of what we were getting too, is people would tell us they felt like they were part of the band, because our singer Charlotta, who likes to involve the audience. And I think that's such a special, it's kind of goes back to what you're saying, having that connection is such a special thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and to be able to go out there and play, it's the best way to travel, is to do it with
Right.
music. You always get in back doors, or front
Yeah.
doors.
And to meet amazing people and other musicians, right?
Yeah, and I would say that I've been blessed to have this possibilities to do this, and and be able to work with all these great musicians, because there's so many memories, and they've been so nice, and when we were doing a lot of these backup stuff with these old blues guys, it was more of like we were not a backup band. These guys, we were a band.
Yeah, you become a family, right?
They also wanted to make sure that tell us that they were the band.
Right.
So Eddie Kirkland wanted us to come over to the U.S. and play. Thinking about changing the band's name to the Eddie Kirkland and the Scandinavian Snakes.
Nice. Yeah, that's such a, like where those guys came from, or where they come from, to be welcomed into that is such a special thing, with such a different background than what they know. But to be able to do that and do it authentically is such a gift, right?
Yeah, and to realize, from what kind of circumstances they were coming, compared to our,
Right.
So I had one moment that Carrie Bell asked me. Well, he was, from somewhere from Mississippi, I don't know, moved to Chicago in the early 50s, late 40s, played harmonica in there. He asked me that, hey, Robban, why did you start to play the blues? And well, I told him that, well, one day I heard this, got my mojo working.
Right.
I was really, really into it. And he looked at me, and it was like a big question mark. And he said, I started to play the blues so I wouldn't have to pick cotton.
Hey, that's real. That's real. Yeah.
Difference in
Right.
coming, and I was also struggling with for a time here with myself. I went to well, we were always getting this question, that can a white man play the blues?
Right. Yeah.
A white guy from Finland played the blues. You don't
Right.
really,
Sure. Yeah.
my father was in the war against Russia. He was spending 2.5 years, in the front line,
Right.
So, well, we've been going through tough times.
Yeah. Yeah. The blues is just a different version, right?
Different version, yes. And there was some people that said that, yeah, we can't do it. Eddie Kirkland and Luciana Red said, yes, absolutely you can do it. But then I went and visited, been to New Orleans 2 times, and I went to see all these plantations the last time I was there about 5 years ago, and I saw all this shit there. Beautiful
Right.
place. but the cruel history. And for a while, I was really struggling myself that am I allowed to do this, to play this?
Mhm.
Because
Right.
and I've been doing this. And I've been entertaining people within the blues music, for now
Couple-
30 years, So,
right.
but really, the big question is that is this a part of me, or is this, should I do it, or all that? But I
Mhm.
came to the conclusion that we have to take this, to the next generation.
Right. Yep.
Tell them about what it's all about.
Yeah.
What
Educate them on the history and the whole how it all happened. Right.
So I've been having I've been doing school concerts here at my venue. So we have the youngsters coming in here, and I've been
Mhm.
telling you know the whole Afro-American scene about where gospel music comes from, where rock and roll came from, and I'm telling them all these stories about Lead Belly
Yeah.
and telling
That's,
them,
you know what? It's so important, and people love that music in Finland, but a lot of them may not know the history
yeah,
behind it, right? So it's important to tell that part of the story, I think.
yeah, and the kids has been very uh, they've been very enthusiastic about it, and I've been receiving reviews from their uh, you know from the schools, from the principals and stuff, that
Right.
it's been really good, that we want to keep on going doing this.
Mm.
So
Yeah, you know what? It's important because a lot of people take the music for granted, but they don't know the history. And once you know the history, then it becomes a lot more valuable, right? Then you really even appreciate it more, I think. And especially for young kids to know that is super important. It's also too, it's just important to tell the story. Um, and Roban, how can people find you online? I know you have social media pages and all that. What's the easiest way for people to contact you or see what you're up to?
well, it's just this well, we have different pages. First, we have the band's page,
Hmm.
bluesband.com, and there's info about our band, and all what we've been doing, and all that. And then we have I'm not really running it actively. I have the ramasound.com page as well. Not much info over there. But then what we're really doing now together with my wife is we're having our own cultural place, which is the Culture Garage.com,
Okay.
but with K, Kulturgaraget dot fi.
Okay.
And you can also find us on Facebook and on Instagram, and the story behind that is my father was running a garage. He was a car mechanic, and
Mhm.
early 50s, and he was working on cars until he turned 87 years old, and then he
Wow.
then he said that now it's enough, because all of his customers has passed away.
Yeah.
So I took over the whole building, and I realized quite soon that I had to do something with it, because
Mm.
the pipes were freezing in the winter time, and all the electricity was old and all that. So I started renovating it for 2.5 years, and I really didn't know what this would become, but I just knew that I have to give it a new life.
Some love, yeah. Mm.
And when we were in with the band in Woodstock to record at Levon Helm's place, Levon was still living, and he was doing a concert there every Saturday.
Ah,
Really expensive tickets. I think they cost about $200 or something.
wow.
200 people in there, and everybody had to bring something because they had no alcohol rights or anything. So
Right.
everybody a cake or something to drink or something, and it was free for all. It was just a big picnic.
Fun.
Levon was playing there. It was called the Midnight Ramble,
Mm,
and he invited, all kinds of, well-known artists there to come and friends to come and play with him. So
mm,
see Mavis Staples there or Emma Harris, or playing for over 100 people.
right.
I attended a Midnight Ramble twice, and so I started to think that, what if I've been traveling with the band now for so many years, all over Europe. I've seen every gas station, and I played every shithole from Helsinki to the North Pole, and
Well, me too. On the other side of the ocean.
so I started thinking, what if we make our own venue so we could play here, and the people can come here and give them, a special evening, a special,
Experience. Yeah.
experience, yes. And so we did, and we managed to have 4 or 5 concerts before the COVID hit us.
Mm,
And then we had to put down, and then we started together with my wife to see for other possibilities. We were doing some streaming stuff, but now we're working also with something that you call culture and wealth care, which
mm.
is workshops for
Yeah. Yeah, it's a great venue, and what's really cool about it is it still has the garage feel. You walk in, it still has that vibe, but it's such a cool, like an intimate venue that feels super comfortable. You feel like you're playing in somebody's living room, which I really like.
Yeah.
I like the vibe there very much.
Yeah, and we have some videos on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Kulttuuri Korjaamo, where if you Google GA20 Robban, you can find it. Or
Mm.
it's from Texas was here, and we have all their real complete concert there, so you can go and see and check out, what kind of what. But
Yeah, and I'll include your links on this whenever we release this, and make sure people can find you. Because your pages are great, the content's great. You have a lot of really interesting bands and different bands. It's not just blues. It's rock. It's a lot of different things. And I love what you're doing with the educational aspect. I think that's really great and super valuable for the people of Finland, I think.
yeah. So, but yeah, we want to have all kinds of music. So I don't want to, get people know me as the blues guy. So I don't only want to do blues here. We want to have, great jazz and
Hmm.
progressive rock and folk music. We have even classical music coming up next week.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. That's a great venue. And I love you're in Kokkola, Finland, which I love. I was just there 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago. A great town, and a little chilly in the winter, but that's okay.
So yeah, but that's mainly my story. So and what I'm doing. So
Yeah, it's you know what? It's a great story, and we're only scratching the surface because you're very well known in Finland, and you're also everybody really likes you, which is not so easy in the music business. So you've done a lot of things right, of course, and you've really helped our band out quite a bit, and I appreciate that. And hopefully we have a lot more to do in the future, and I'm looking forward to that. And someday we talked about that. We need to play together and do like maybe a bass duet or something.
you will. The bass.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but I mean, I've been trying to be fair and nice to everybody I meet, and I, maybe that's a good advice to younger musician is that to make connection, with don't be afraid, go and talk with people.
Yeah, and be authentic, right?
Be authentic, do it, not just for your own how would you say, purposes, for your own interest, but really
Right.
be interested in what other people do. So,
Yeah, this whole business is built on relationships, and being authentic and real will really get you a long way. And all the calls I've ever gotten were people that I just met, I did a gig with, didn't think a lot of it. Then a year later they call you, right? So that's how it works. It's how the world works, and that's how the music business works. So thank you so much for joining me. I very much appreciate it. I know you're a busy guy. You have 10 jobs like I do. And
yeah,
so maybe, yeah, next time I'm in Finland, we should get together, maybe play a little bit, then maybe we'll do like some live streaming together and do some more talking about music stuff and bass stuff and all the good stuff.
yeah. We didn't come to equipment yet, so but we'll leave that for next time.
Yeah, yeah, you have a lot of good cool vintage stuff. So we'll have to show that off too. I almost stole your Sparkle Fender bass from you.
Well, we can have a chat and talk about that, and make a filming, and I'll introduce different instruments and that I have. I have a really nice Ampeg AEB bass.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, you've got a lot of nice gear. I'm pretty jealous. So next time you better watch me, because I might steal a bass or something. I don't know. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will put the links for people to be able to find you on the podcast and on the social media posts, and also too, please tell your wife I said hello.
I certainly will. And to all you listeners out there, I have a message for you. Keep on
talking. That's a good message. All right. Thanks, Robban. Thank you so much. Ciao.
Ciao.